Do 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 do. Oh look, live already. That seems to me like that's faster than it used to be. All right, well, I know I'm talking to absolutely nobody because this is an absolutely random live stream event. And, I'm going to give it a couple minutes before I start on a couple seconds anyway, before I start on the actual topic of today's video. But I guess for anybody who's wondering what's going on, I got a job at a barn, so I had to cut my hair. And I want to say a huge thank you to, just the massive number of people that have joined up to my channel in the last couple of months. It's been it's pretty much doubled over the last like 2 or 3 months since I've been going away at this Bear Family Farms thing. And it's just really great to see so many people getting on board and joining up to kind of see what's going on our little homestead here. 1 or 2 viewers out there now, so that's excellent. There's somebody there. So I guess now that there's somebody there, howdy, Brian. What I'm going to chat about, Humphrey Family Homestead. That's perfect because you are the reason that I'm doing this video. Humphrey Family Homestead suggested that I should give a go at the reasons why I YouTube video. Excuse me. And it struck me as kind of a babble video. So that struck me as a live presentation sort of thing. And really, I don't know how long this video is going to be. There's not a whole lot to it. Let's see. Start at the beginning, I suppose. Why do I watch videos on YouTube? I got really tired of traditional TV programming. The TV shows and stuff are great, but every 7-8 minutes you're inundated with those ads. And unlike ads on YouTube or on the internet in general, howdy. Unlike ads on YouTube or the internet in general, the ones that are on television are not necessarily geared towards the individual watching the program, whereas the ones on YouTube, at least, I've searched it up, so therefore it goes, oh, well, they're interested in this, let's show them ads for this. So if I'm going to get bombarded with those ads, it's ads for something that I'm interested in. So that's probably one of the reasons that I got started watching YouTube in general. Another reason that I'm into YouTube, watching YouTube in particular, is I've mentioned this in one of my other live streams. I don't know if it was on this channel or on the JT Bear channel, but one of the things that I really appreciate about YouTube and keeps me coming back is it's in my opinion a true definition of a community. I want to call it a community college. It's an opportunity for like-minded individuals to share information and grow our overall knowledge base. Excuse me, it's after work. I got up at stupid o'clock this morning, so if I seem a little scattered, I am. The new job has me getting up at like 5 something every morning, and then, the upside of that is I'm generally done work by noon, so that's great, and I can come home, but I don't really want to do anything but fall down. So my brain is a little, well, it's just not with me at this point in the day. Give it a couple hours, a couple more pots of coffee, and it'll catch back up. But yeah. So please bear with me as I'm a little more scatterbrained than usual. So I like to watch and learn about interesting things. And when I'm sitting there watching television, standard traditional cable TV, you're kind of stuck watching whatever they happen to be playing at the moment. And with YouTube, I've got the opportunity to go, well, I want to look at cows. So I type in Highland cattle, click, and I can choose from a bunch of videos on the topic that I am looking for. Or, I want to look at rabbitry stuff. So I can look up that information. And it's really easy to find exactly what I'm looking for. And when you find good channels that share this information, you've got the opportunity to actually exchange. You're going back and forth and you're having a conversation about it. So unlike the television, you can actively ask the presenter your question, and you've got a reasonable chance of getting an answer. They may know the answer, they may not. A lot of times they won't know the answer, but they might know a video you should watch to maybe find the answer. So those two reasons right there really turned me into a very solid YouTube viewer. I've never been one for the pranks channels or really any of that crap. I'm not a cute cat channel guy. I'm not a dogs of Instagram guy. I mean, we've got our pup and he does his thing, but we don't make him the focus of the channel or anything. He doesn't even like having his picture taken. So having a dog channel would just not happen. But I like to avoid all that stuff on the internet, and you don't find too much of it on TV, so that's great. But at the same time, what you do find on TV, not much better. Daytime talk shows, not much better. Watching the news, highly unreliable. Half the news stations say the other half of the news stations are fake news. So who do you trust? You know, so again, that brings us back to watching on YouTube. I can get the opinions of what's going on around actual real people who, for the most part, have no reason to tilt it or skew it so it's seen one way or the other. It's a much more non-biased alternative media. So yeah, those are definitely the reasons to keep me watching YouTube. Mostly though, it's for the educational opportunities and the opportunity to exchange thoughts with other like-minded individuals. I suppose one of the questions that goes along with reasons why people YouTube is, why do I present on YouTube? Why do I make videos on YouTube and share them with you guys? And well, for those of you who are familiar with all of my channels, you know that Bear Family Farms is not my first channel. JT Bear was my first channel. And if you have gone through the history of that, you can easily tell by watching my very first video that I was totally not prepared to make a video that day. I've got my hat on all sideways, and I might have been actually wearing this sweater at the time, but I was farting around in the greenhouse because I had been watching lots of aquaponic videos, and I pulled out this cabbage, and it had this like 9 million mile root system on it. And Shocks went in the house and got the camera and came back out, and she's like, "You're making a video, you're putting this on YouTube," because she'd been watching me with all of these comments and exchanges and stuff, and she wanted to see me, you know, put my efforts out there and just kind of see what came of that. And I'm really glad she did, because I got some positive responses, I got some negative responses, but I mean, it's YouTube. There are a lot of trolls out there. But in the homesteading community, I've noticed, and even more so in the gardening community than in the homesteading community, there really aren't a lot of poo-pooers and negative Nancy's out there. I mean, you do get them in the homesteading community because you get these, I don't want to say idiots, but I want to say idiots, who are, okay, so we're bringing down this animal so our family has food, and all of a sudden there's this keyboard warrior going on, how could you kill that poor animal? Well, I told it its whole life that I was going to kill it and it was going to be food, and I'd rather it was raised with love and I know what's going into it than it was raised in a factory and God only knows what they fed it. So yeah, quick hello here to Uncle Wimpy and Dan Boy and Growing Grass Homestead and Farms. So hello to everybody who is joining us here today for this totally impromptu, random sort of live stream. But yeah, so third reason and first reason why I present on YouTube, Shocks made me do it, literally made me do it. And I'm really glad that she did. Another reason that I present on YouTube as compared to just like on a random website or a lot of the other social media things like Facecrack or whatever, I enjoy the opportunity to potentially earn a couple cents from sharing my time and my efforts and my trials. I can't say from sharing my wisdom because, again, if you watch my channels, I go through my entire life through a trial and error and trial and more error and more error and trying some new things. And I learn through failure. I love failure. Actually, I'm thrilled when I fail at something because it means I've tried something new and it didn't work and I've got the opportunity to try something else. So that is great. And for a long time there, I was considered kind of unemployable by a lot of the people in the community that we lived in. I pissed off some big families that have their fingers in pretty much all of the work opportunities in the valley where we used to live. So construction was out, and there were just so many jobs that I couldn't do because I had pissed off a couple of people. So with nepotism running as rampant as it was, there was no money for me to make, and we still had the boys with us, and I needed to do something to contribute to the family. That was part of why I started gardening, so that I could at least be producing groceries for our home. And ultimately, that's kind of what's led to the homesteading thing. Is I want to produce more of those groceries for our home. I want to be able to produce, like we've got the eggs going now, and I'm working on getting the rabbits up and running for hopefully spring. I want to build the cages in what's left of the winter, and then come spring, once temperatures get a little more sane or reasonable or whatever you want to call it, then we'll put some rabbits in the poultry barn or the long shed, or I don't know. It doesn't really have an official name at this point, but yeah, that gardening led to homesteading because it's all about I want to put more into the family coffers, and you can save a lot of money by not buying groceries and just growing them yourself. So while it wasn't necessarily earning that much initially, it has allowed us to save and to move on to different opportunities. And now that YouTube's changed its rules and you've got to have like 1,000 subs and 4,000 hours and blah blah blah, a lot of the smaller channels aren't earning anymore, but they've still got the opportunity to earn again in the future. Like take Bear Family Farms, this channel, for example. It was this tiny little channel for a long time that I felt was going absolutely nowhere. And then all of a sudden it just kind of exploded. And there are so many people now who are watching to see what's going on. I don't know if it's because they like the way I interact with the chickens, or they think I'm funny looking, or whatever. I don't know what keeps you all watching, but I'm really glad to have you here. And I'm really glad to have this more focused group, like on my gardening channel. It's pretty random. A lot of you guys who do watch that, you know just how random the viewership is there, and the videos themselves are pretty random too. But here on the Homestead channel, I am trying to keep it to anything that's homesteady or farmy or, you know, livestocky, that kind of stuff. But it is what it is there. Let's see here. Brian got to head out and take my dad for a few things. All right, well, have fun with your dad. Drive safe out there. Humphrey Family Homestead. It's probably Bunty. It is probably Bunty. She is an entertaining little chicken. Poopers. So yeah, let's see. There was a fifth reason. I had a whole laundry list of great reasons going through my head while I was cleaning out the pig barn this morning. But for the life of me, I'm at a loss now. I should have written this down, but that's forward thinking. Not really a big one of my things. Let's see. So reasons that I YouTube beyond the sharing, it really comes down to variations and shades of the same thing. I love YouTube because it's an opportunity for ordinary people to share with other ordinary people about things that actually matter to them without being too terribly sucked into the whole commercial thing that life has become. And television has gotten insane. And in this day and age, we have the opportunity, you know, once you put in the time, to earn a little something from sharing. And I don't think that's a bad thing, especially with the like the ads being the source of revenue, because we're not asking for you guys, the viewers, to give in anything. You know, if you spend 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds watching the ad or whatever, then great, that's helpful. The big corporations are out there 5 cents. It comes down and helps out the little YouTubers a little bit. Uncle Wimpy, do you ever feel that certain topics have been YouTubed to death? I absolutely do. I feel that so many things have been YouTubed to death, and that's part of why I'm not putting up as many aquaponics videos as I used to do. I am pretty damn sure that topic has been covered 7 ways from Sunday. And now all I can really do is update it. I haven't learned anything new, so I have nothing new to share. So there's not there's nothing new going on in that field right now. But I mean, the things that really get YouTube to death, in my opinion, are like the popular things, like toxic masculinity. That got YouTube to death for quite a while there. And, you know, the Me Too thing that got YouTube to death. And any of these social justice things seem to get really just right to the ground. So that's a little frustrating. But, you know, I just try and do me. Which channel was it? Just You Do You. It was the hashtag that came out of that video that I watched, and it was one of the great. Jason at Cog Hill Farms, I think it was, put up a video that was kind of basically You Do You, and I really appreciated that. And that's a concept I'd like to see, not necessarily YouTube to death, but I'd like to see more YouTubers pick it up and encourage people just to be themselves and to be okay with being themselves. One thing that definitely gets YouTube to death is the idea of perfection. Look how perfect my life is. Look how great everything is. In reality, you know, off camera, these people are suffering and they can't afford the car. They can't afford the house. They can't afford the clothes, but they've got all this stuff so that they look like they're successful because of that whole fake it till you make it thing. And I think a lot of people watching YouTube are afraid to get started because they don't put forth that image of perfection. And I actually hope, there we go. That's the fifth reason that I YouTube is I hope that with what I'm doing here on YouTube and people like me, that more people will realize it's okay to fail. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to just be you, living your life, experiencing your truth, and discovering your reality for what it is. Because everybody out there, and there's over 7 billion of us, there's got to be getting close to 8 billion of us now. I haven't done a global population search, but over 7 billion of us all living different adventures. And the idea that we should all be experiencing the same perfection in the way we dress and the way we look and howdy freaky and the way we care for our family or the kind of home we live in or the kind of pets we have. The idea that it should all be the same to me is just so ridiculous. And yeah, I want people who watch my stuff, even if they only just watch one of my videos and go, that guy's insane, well, at least I made them think about something, even if it's about the fact that I'm crazy. At least I've made them feel something. So to some degree, YouTubing is a bizarre form of art because art is about making people feel things. But I want people to feel that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to just be you. It's okay to just be. And yeah, I think that's probably the overriding message of all of my YouTube stuff, regardless of what the topic of the channel is that it's okay to fail and it's okay to be you and it's okay to be real. In fact, it's better to be real and fail than it is to pretend and fake success, because you don't learn anything from faking success. Hell, you don't learn anything from actual success, but you know, what do? You succeed at something, so you repeat it. There's no learning there. There's no lesson. There's no evolution of mind. It's just, it is what it is. I don't know. Any other reasons that I YouTube? I YouTube because it's cheap. I YouTube because it's out there. I YouTube for the community. But mostly I YouTube as a viewer to feed a deep, insatiable need for random information. Like Shocks will be sitting there on her computer because like my computer is here, her computer is right here. And we sit beside each other and we watch different stuff. Like there is no war for the remote in our household because she's watching what she wants to. I'm watching what I want to, and it doesn't interfere, you know. And if you know, she wants to put on her belly dance music or whatever and just crank it up, she's all like, "It, you know, does it matter?" And I'm like, "No, don't worry. It's mindless education," which to a lot of people doesn't necessarily make sense. But I grew up reading insatiably. I was that kid in the corner who always had a book, and it was very rarely a little book. It's usually a book. And I love taking in that information. I may not retain all of it or hardly any of it. He used to describe my brain as, it's kind of like a computer. I'm all processor and no hard drive. Give me the information. I can figure out the answer that you need. Ask me to remember what you told me? Probably not going to happen. But yeah. Rugged Homestead. Used to read the dictionary and the encyclopedia. I read the dictionary once when I was back in '89. Grade 9 was so long ago. And people looked at me like I was insane. But you know what? It really helped with English for the next 4 years of school. I wish that, I finally graduated and passed English, but I got my GED. It's close enough. When it comes right down to it, I kind of loitered in grade 12 for 4 years because mindless education. I wanted to be in the classes, but not leave school, because once I left school, I had to grow up, had to get a job, had to start paying rent, had to do all this adulting stuff that frankly, I still don't want to do. I do it, but I don't want to do it. It's like getting up for the barn. Yeah, I get up at stupid o'clock in the morning and I go and I watch the running of the bacon seeds, which I have to say is really adorable. Okay, I work at a hog farrowing barn, which for those of you who don't know, we breed pigs and we supply other barns with young piglets that they can raise up. And, we're part of feeding the world, which is great. Well, we're part of feeding a portion of the world that eats pork. And it's fantastic. But every day starts off with, we go to one room and we clean it out. And all the little piglets run out. And I kid you not, there's like 200 to 300 little piglets. And they're running down the hallway and they're squealing and they're having a great time and they're checking everything out. And it is a ridiculously adorable way to start your day. I mean, yes, okay, I spend the next 5 hours shoveling and pressure washing adult and baby pig poo out of the room, but I make it spotless and we start again. That's my job and somebody's got to do it. So great. It's not a lot of mental activity involved in that, which is good because my brain is really not prepared for anything that involves it at that time of day, to be perfectly honest. And getting up early screws my facilities for the rest of the day too. Like, I've been off work now for about 3 hours. Stopped at the hotel where Shocks is because I get up, it's stupid o'clock, start work. About the time I'm finishing work but not home yet, she is starting work at the hotel. So if we want to see each other during the day, I'd basically better stop by. So I've kind of gotten in the habit of stopping by after work for a burger and a beer for lunch, which is probably not the most financially responsible thing that I could do. But it's nice to be able to see my loved one while we're both awake. She won't be getting off work until after my bedtime tonight, but it's Friday, and I've never really been a celebrate Friday guy, but I'm starting to get the personality. I'm getting it now because I don't have to get up until I want to tomorrow. Yeah. And I'm fully prepared to sleep at least half of my day away tomorrow. I'm totally okay with that. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to get up. I'm going to check YouTube. And I'm probably going to dive down some educational rabbit hole. I mean, actually, it's probably going to be rabbit related too, because it's getting on time. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, I want to start making my rabbit hutches. I've got most of the things. I got most of the things I need. I need to get my 1x1 cage wire, but all of the stuff I found locally has been like the super thin stuff. And I'd like to find a thicker gauge because I don't want those little sores on their paws. And well, it's bad enough that, oh, hi, Jackie. I just see you in the feed there. Silver Moon Homestead. Welcome to the chat. It's bad enough that I kind of have to keep them in an enclosure at all. And a lot of people get really upset about the size of rabbit enclosures and stuff like that. But it is what it is, okay? And the simple fact of the matter is they have to be contained somewhere. Can't let them just go crazy and go wild. So the least I can do is make sure that their cage is going to be a healthy environment for them. And from everything I understand, that kind of means an all metal cage, because I can take them out, let them run around in, I'm going to do kind of a rabbit tractor that's a few inches off the ground so the grass underneath it still stays mowed and they can poo down there and stuff. But when they're out in that, I'll be able to wash their cages and they won't be nibbling on the wood or getting their urine soaking into it. And they're just, I really wanted to do wooden cages initially. Well, hutches, I guess it would be initially, because I thought, well, it's going to be a better wind shelter and things like that. But talking to Forge and a few different people in the community, it's like, no, they really don't need it. Rabbits do better in the cold than they do in the heat. So I have been excessively worried about that. And when it comes right down to it, the long shed is getting more and more buttoned up. So yes, there is ventilation in there. In fact, I'm actually seriously considering about putting one of those roof spinners on the long shed. So I've got some proper upward draft or upward ventilation and proper draft and airflow through and everything. But they're not going to have any wind blowing directly on them. So I think that's going to be okay. But you know, there's still a lot to learn, and YouTube gives me the opportunity to dive into that knowledge and absorb it at the rate that I can take it in. If I can only watch, you know, a couple hours worth of videos on the topic before my brain's like, okay, we are done for now, go paint aphids into your fish tank or something different, just change of pace, then great. If I can spend the whole day finding new information and new opinions and new reasons, then, or new reasons for doing things one way or the other, I should say, then that is time to me really, really well spent. A lot of people will go and they'll spend, you know, hundreds or thousands of dollars to take a course in which some stranger that they can very rarely interact with is going to tell them how things are. The definitive how things are. There's no gray area. They're simply right and wrong. And they are right. Period. They are right. The educator is always right. Whereas in YouTube, there are a lot of people like me who realize that when I'm right, that's more of a shock than anything else. And I got one lucky and all that. And it's an opportunity to learn. Damn boys, totally agree with you on the homestead community. Some are idiots, most are good folks. So yeah, see, I don't know which one of those I fall into. I try and be good people. I know I'm a bit of an idiot. So it's a gray area there. Jackie, you can have rabbit tractors during the no snow months. Yeah, well, that's exactly my plan, actually. We've got that really long patch. Every time I touch my table, my camera wiggles. We've got that really long patch behind the spruces where those walking onions are that I've either been toying with the idea of trying to sneak in a chicken tractor to see if we can raise some meat birds without the neighbors complaining, because we're already one over the limit. I still can't believe you're only allowed to have three hens in your neighborhood here in town. And that's if your neighbors don't complain. My one neighbor's totally cool, though. He's like, if you have extra hens and anybody complains, just tell them you're looking after mine. Like, yeah, Justin, you rock. But, you know, I'm going to try and maybe sneak in some meat birds at some point in that area because it's kind of hidden by everything else we grow throughout the summer and those spruce trees there. In the meantime, though, I am thinking I'll run a rabbit tractor in there. They can kind of mow the lawn a little bit shorter, so they'll be getting those nice fresh greens. But it's probably only going to be the young ones that, well, not the brood stock, but the food stock, I guess is the best way to put that. Get to eat that. And from what I understand, I don't want them to be eating purely that because it's kind of too wet and they might have some diarrhea issues. But I don't know until I've done it, regardless of how many videos I've watched here. So everyone different things gives you a chance to lots of ideas. Exactly. Humphrey Family Homestead. Yeah, Dan agrees with me there. And yeah, again, there's lots of useful information on YouTube that's homestead related. But I mean, there's useful information on YouTube that is anything related. You want to fix your car, there are videos on it. I've been able to find videos on exactly the year, make, and model of the Jeep, exactly the problem that I've been having, exactly how to fix it. I mean, I don't have the tools to do it, nor do I have the patience, but the information is right there. If I wanted to, I could go borrow the tools from probably my neighbor across the street. He's a very well-equipped gentleman. As far as tools go, I don't know the rest. I'm not asking. But I could take the tablet out there. I could crawl under the Jeep and I could watch the video step by step. Okay, I need to take this off, crank, 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 put that to the side. Take this off. Oh, look at that, oil in the face. Should have put a mask on. There's your comment on that. But YouTube is great for that. You can build a house. Actually, that's one of the things too, the rabbit holes that I keep diving down is earth ships. I want to build a house. I want to build something that will be here to give us financial freedom and will give our children and hopefully our children's children financial freedom of not having to pay for the land, because I already did those slave hours, not having to pay for the hydroelectricity because we've already looked into alternative energy methods like windmills and the solar panels and biogas and all that stuff. And it's just, there's so much to learn. It's almost overwhelming, but at the same time, it's not, because you can stop anytime you want. Okay, your brain can't process information anymore. Type in hot ones and watch some random celebrity, rapper, comedian, chef go through that whole hell of the hot wings. It's fantastic. I don't know if anybody's seen the Gordon Ramsay on Hot Ones. I thought that was a little ridiculous. Very entertaining, very entertaining. And I like, hot wings in general. I like spicy stuff in general. So watching people suffer, that's great, because they're suffering of their own free will. It is what it is. I mean, I guess that's another reason to watch YouTube in general, or to YouTube in general, is anything you could possibly want to watch is probably out there. I mean, YouTube's got some, what's the polite way to word this? We'll just say interesting code of ethics, and it's easy to violate these by accident, but there are a lot of people that are violating it intentionally because that's what they want to produce, and they have an audience that wants to see that. So mainstream media would never have allowed for these people to reach those people. And YouTube has provided a place where they can. Do I agree with it? Some of it? No, I really, really don't. But I agree with their right to share their opinion. And I agree with other people's right to hear that opinion, even if I disagree with what that opinion is, because it's my understanding that that's what real freedom is. Real freedom comes from being responsible for what you think, making your own decisions, while still allowing others to think what they think and make their own decisions. And everything else that we call freedom all just kind of falls off of that one way or the other. But it all comes back to, you have to be able to think for yourself, or else there's no freedom. So YouTube gives me the freedom to watch whatever I want. If I don't like it, I can click away. That's one thing I don't get about these keyboard warriors and their troll comments and stuff. Oh, I don't like your video because blah, 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 blah. And like, I'm supposed to get upset about that. But I sit there and I go, well, I thank you for watching the video and giving me the view time and taking the time to express your opinion. And I have an amazing number of viewers on my main channel that started off giving me grief because they didn't like something. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I didn't do that very well. You're right. I could have done that better. You're right. This is not generally accepted as a good idea. but I tried it anyway because I needed to know. Oh, it's just, see, that's what I'm talking about. My brain is really scattered from getting up so early this morning, and I had so many fantastic reasons that I wanted to share, but it's not like I can write this stuff down because any paper in that room is going to get shredded. That pressure washer really works. It's got the pressure. Let's see what's going on here in chat. Rugged homestead, ML, that's what she said. Silver moon, rabbit holes, yeah, rugged. Find homestead YouTube videos inspirational because I'm not really homesteading. I'm in suburbia, but watching homestead videos gives me hope that someday I'll be able to do it too. That's exactly what it is. You know, we were living in the middle of a tourist trap town where rent takes two people earning to make just rent. Forget the hydro bill, forget groceries, forget, you know, clothes for your kids. Two people got to be earning or you're not going to make rent. We were so lucky that we had the world's coolest landlord. We lived there for 10 years and Leo never raised the rent. He didn't care about the fact that I was digging up his yard to make my gardens and tearing down his shed and building my greenhouse and basically treating it like it was our property, even though I knew it was his. We paid our rent every month. Almost every month, and he was really good about it. It didn't matter if it was on the 1st or if it was on the 27th of the month. He didn't care, and he was just, I wish everybody could have a landlord as cool as Leo, because then I think the idea of renting wouldn't be so painful to most people. Let's see here. Silver moon, don't have to have a large property to homestead. You can have rabbits and usually quail in suburbia. Definitely a garden, but check if you have an HOA or anything like that. Homeowners association? I'm guessing that's what that is. I've never encountered one of those, but they strike me as just a horrifying idea that I would be foursquare against, because if I buy my property, you, my neighbor, do not get to tell me what to do on my property. Let's see, silver moon, but growing anything yourself is still a form of homesteading. Well, it kind of is, right? So that's great. Marcy, howdy, nice to see you and happy. Welcome to the show. You guys have missed most of the actual reasons that are in this. Now you're just a babbling portion of the event, but Humphrey Family Homestead, HOAs are ridiculous. Yeah, hate condos too, Marcy. Yeah, I could never, no way. At this point in my life, I could never deal with a condo. When I was in my young and dumb phase, so 18 through 30, no, I lived in those apartments until I was about 24, 25. And I lived in, we called it concrete cliffs, because it was, you know, cement above, cement below, all the way around. You were basically in a cave, a man-made cave standing up in the middle of the field. And it was a really, really bad building. We used to call it the Rock, kind of after Alcatraz. And that's not because tenants decided to call that. That's because the police, who got called there on a weekly basis for major crime removal, started calling it that. Somebody heard, the tenants all heard, we started calling it the Rock. It became like this badge. It's like, yeah, man, I live at the Rock. Oh, I know where you're at. Okay. Nah. Geez, I don't even remember the actual name of that apartment building because everybody just called it the Rock. It was crazy. And condos, the closest thing I lived to a condo was this townhouse complex, and never again. That was Bristol Estates. I do remember the name of that place. Oh, it was horrible, man. Oh, man. Cracker Jacks living upstairs. You can safely assume what they were engaged in most of the time. Screaming over their balcony down at my yard, my dogs, because my dogs are keeping them awake during the day. Well, maybe you should pay for a place with a ground floor, or find a hobby you can do during the day and sleep at night. A clue. When I'm in my backyard having a puff and I smell what smells like burning plastic, you've lost all sympathy from me. That's who I am. Maybe that's 8 years in security in that same city, but I have no use for that. I need a new topic. Happy, got to get back to work. Just wanted to stop in and say hello. Well, get back to work, Happy. Thanks for stopping by. Marcy, I'll watch it late. We watch it late. I don't know what's going on there. We lived in townhouse condos and couldn't grow veggies because they were ugly. Oh, see, now isn't that hideous? People poo-pooing other people for growing some food. Like, really? Be involved in your own life. Be part of your own food chain. How is growing vegetables ugly? Or another one is, it reduces the property value. Really? How? It's proving the productive nature of the property. How does that reduce the property value? Even here, okay, now this, I was talking to Shocks about this over my burger and my beer earlier. Even here in town, we have little tiny row houses. I think it's 6. It's a row of 6 houses, townhouse style, all connected to each other. And one gentleman, nice enough guy, has chosen to make raised beds. Excuse me. Hot chocolate moment. Oh, so much better. Has chosen to make these beautiful raised bed gardens, and they go a little closer towards the street than maybe a lot of people would like. And it's like, really? This guy is living on a pension, so already his money is pretty limited. It's a fairly newer building, so he's probably still making payments on that unless he sold the farm to buy the place. You know, and he's of the generation where if you want food, you grew it. Because dude's not a spring chicken. Like, he's got to be mid to late 80s at the youngest. So what is wrong with this guy going out there? He's got a hobby. He's weeding. He's growing his garden. He's making his veg. He's preserving it. He sells jams and stuff up at the farmer's market. What is wrong with this? But some of the neighbors don't like the look of the garden. You know, I don't think they've come out to say it's ugly, but they have complained about the raised beds in general. And it's like, man, oh man, if you don't like what he's doing over there, you'd better stay away from my side of the tracks, because you have got no idea what I'm doing in that grove. And this year it's going to be nuts over there because I'm going all like companion multi-sisters gardening. It's going to be fun. And I might actually get a decent harvest this year. What do we got here? Hi, Amanda Dave. Posting cook tomorrow. Freaky. You can eat some flowers. You can eat lots of flowers, actually, as it turns out. I just haven't really gotten into that yet. Nasturtiums, somebody was saying you could eat those, but I like them as aphid bait. So there's that. Geraniums are supposed to be okay, but I've never tried that, so don't take my word on it. Learning. Marcy, I used to grow Swiss chard as part of my flower pots. Well, it's bright. It's colorful. You know, like, okay, again, last year we had all the chard growing out in front, and then I was trying to grow the cabbages behind it. Nobody complained. I think it looked really pretty, all the different colors and, you know, neatly spaced. And every couple of days I'd go out there and crack off some of the larger leaves, and, you know, we'd roll it up and have, almost like people do with tortillas to make wraps and stuff, except I just wrap it up in a chard leaf and call it done. Or I'll take the spine out and then slice it up for salads and stuff like that. Or I was using chard for a replacement for the spinach and spinach dip. It's just so much nice. It's so much nice. Oh yeah, okay. Mr. Bear needs to get some sleep. I need to hibernate. That's what I should be doing. I'm not even supposed to be awake in the winter. I'm a bear. So what do you got going on here? Marcy, tulips, roses, pansies, violets, daylily. These are all edible plants. I didn't know you could eat roses. I knew you could eat rose hips, and they're supposed to be really rich in vitamin C. But I've also heard that if you dry and then skin a rose hip, there's that like powdery substance in there that basically is nature's itching powder. So I don't mess with that because I get itchy enough as it is, you know. Let's see. Hope it was smart. Silver Moon. What Freaky said. Freaky nice and spicy. I think I've lost track of the chat here, but brown snapdragon flowers taste like root beer. I didn't even know there were brown snapdragon flowers. That would be quite cool. But I'm hoping to learn more about the flowers that are available. This year, I was a good and loving boyfriend, and I bought Shock some flowers for Valentine's Day yesterday. But at the same time, I was me, so I didn't buy her dead flowers. I bought her wildflower seeds. But it's a mix of wildflowers that are supposed to encourage pollinators and things. And I don't know how many of you have explored the couple of channels that she's got going, but in her Celebrate the Beauty and stuff that she does, I think on the Shar channel, she's often exploring the fairy garden out front, where the childish energy just goes wild, and it is so much fun watching her do it. I mean, I would love to grow peppers in that particular space because it is literally the best sun on the whole property. So it would be the ideal place for me to grow my peppers. But you know what? I think a lot of folks will agree, whatever makes your loved ones smile is fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Go right ahead. That's fine. I'll cut down this forest over here. I can grow there. Don't worry about it. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm cutting down the spruces so that I can get more light in the grove, and she can play in the front yard. And she's kind of left me the area right up by the house. But that's kind of it's a kind of a catch-22 there anyway, because I've got the space for now to garden in, but I intend to put a sunroom on it anyway, so it's a very limited time opportunity. Because once I do get a sunroom on there, it's going to really, really cut down the heating costs of this old house, because we lose so much heat through there. And when it drops to minus 35, minus 40, our bathroom in the addition, the pipes freeze solid. And that is because they are in that little bit of wall that will be encapsulated by a sunroom, but is currently just gets blasted with the cold. So yeah, is gray area. I get to grow in it now, but I know that space is gone soon enough. And now that I'm working at the barn, I'm really starting to go, okay, well, what are my opportunities? And much like when she got the byway and we bought the house, because it was the best way to make that little bit of money really last long term. That's kind of what I'm doing with each and every paycheck, is I'm trying to do, obviously pay my bills and make repairs to things, but I'm trying to make a purchase or two with each paycheck that will forward our goals. Howdy, Mike. Nice to see you here in the chat. So, for example, putting a sunroom on the front there will give us more heat in the wintertime, which is going to lower our hydro bill, because we'll have the heat coming in from the front and we won't have the heat escaping from the front. Putting a sunroom out there will give me the opportunity to start plants in a UV sheltered environment and yet still let them get the natural sunlight. So my peppers should be able to go out a month earlier, which obviously is going to be a huge bonus for trying to grow in this ridiculously short season. Because I did the math. We're lucky in a good year. We're lucky to get 120 days. The average crop year is about 90 days. And this year, with everything that I've ordered from Vessey's for our production crop, I've got corn that's 65-day corn. I mean, yeah, it's a hybrid, but it's a sweet corn that I should be able to knock off in our garden season. So I wish I could grow some sort of heirloom open pollinated stuff, but I've got a choice to grow something that will actually produce, or I can try and keep true to the heirloom thing. And I think what's more important here, as I said at the beginning of all this, was to feed my family. So Humphrey, what are my favorite peppers to grow? Anything that will grow. If you're interested in that, you should definitely pop over and check out the JT Bear channel. It's pretty much all about peppers, especially right now, because that's what I've got going in the basement. I've got herbs growing in my aquaponic garden, and I've got lemon habaneros, Caribbean red habaneros, a couple of different types of, actually I got 3 different types of naga peppers, and I got a Reaper plant down there from last year. I like to grow super hots, but I'm not very good at it. So I grow medium hots with reasonable success. Mike trying not to. It's Friday. Yes, it is Friday, and I am mighty glad. I tell you what. Uncle Wimpy, so the dungeon will transform to the sunroom videos. Well, yes and no. The dungeon will move to the sunroom, but will always be the dungeon because, I mean, that aquaponic garden ain't going anywhere. I'm not moving those fish. I'd like to build a much bigger fish tank, but not moving the garden. Mike, how long is your season there? Yeah, it's about 4 months, give or take. 3 months in the average year, 4 months in a really good year. June 1st is about as soon as we should start planting things outside because that's kind of our last frost, which is ridiculously late. And then snow can come as early as mid-September or as late as the 1st of November. But to be honest, every year that we've been here so far, it has snowed at least by the last week of October. So it's a ridiculously short season, or it feels like it to me anyway, because in Penticton, where I spent the 13 years before this, a really harsh winter is like 4 flakes of snow and 2 months of cold. And then, you know, by February, I had plants out in the yard already, out in the greenhouse for sure. And my kale was growing in the aquaponics literally year round. I mean, it wasn't growing very fast in the wintertime because the position of the property, I got maybe half an hour of sun on the greenhouse in the wintertime. So it not a lot of growth opportunity there, but it did stay growing. So it is what it is. Humphrey, I'll go and subscribe. I love peppers. Yeah, well, I'm generally on that channel a lot more than I am on this one. So if you want to see what's going on, that's the place to be subbed to. Freaky, sick or not, grow your peppers. Oh yeah, always going to grow my peppers. I don't know. I think I missed something there. If you're sick, peppers are the ultimate thing to grow. Eat some hot peppers and you can scare away a lot of diseases. Mike, mine this year, according to the almanac, is only 97 days this year. So you're in a pretty similar sort of growing condition or growing situation. So you might want to check out the video I'm going to be doing in the next couple of days too on my Vessies order, because I ordered, what is this? 7 different crops that are all essentials in our household. And the longest one there, I think, yeah, is the pumpkins that say they're 80 days. So it's not necessarily the ones that I was like, ooh, that's a pretty plant, I want to grow that, because that's what I've been doing with my gardening is like, oh, I want to grow that, I want to grow the other thing. And back in Penticton, it was easy. If it was on sale at a nursery, I could buy it, I could grow it, I had the season for it, didn't matter. But out here, I've been going, oh, I'd like to try that, and I plant it and it gets halfway and then all of a sudden, poof, it's winter, so there's just no point. But this year, I actually spent a couple of days on the Vessies website going, okay, I want to grow, we'll use corn, for example. Okay, so what is a good sweet corn? Okay, now what is the fastest sweet corn? And I found that espresso corn matures in 67 days, 9-inch cobs, 16 rows around. I mean, that's not a giant cob of corn, but for something that's just over 2 months to go in a season that's only 3 months guaranteed, that seems like a brilliant choice. You know, like Painted Lady pole beans mature in about 65 days. So again, I should have the window, even if I stagger my plantings, I should have the window to harvest those pole beans. Yeah, the pumpkins are 80 days. I got some really wicked heirloom carrots that are nice, long, straight cylinder carrots, much like the ones I had growing last year, except these ones are 2,000 seeds for $3. So that's going to be, I think, a much larger carrot crop than I had. And I got some French breakfast radishes, 28 days. 28 days! Everybody should grow radishes. Tell you what, everybody should grow radishes. And I got a couple other things on there too, but that's all gardening stuff. It's for the JT Bear channel. So let's see. Freaky, sorry I get random at times. You are in the right group then. So I'm at random pretty much all the time. Marcy, we're trying to turn our front garden into a walled portraiture, orchard. Did I pronounce that right? I totally agree with the idea of turning it into an orchard. A lot of people that would get pissy, will say, about growing vegetables in your front yard don't care about fruit trees. Like, for some reason, fruit's okay. Grow fruit bushes and berry bushes out there. Grow yourself some fruit trees out there. If I had more of a disposable budget, I would probably be looking at a lot of trees and bushes this year. But right now, because of Fuzzy's situation, we have a really interesting opportunity. The girl that he's with, and I think they've been together for over a year now, so congratulations, Fuzzy. Her family is very deeply involved in the, what's the best way to put this? Native healing arts and the properties of the plants that can be found here in our area. And because of his deep dive into that lore, he has come up with lots of locations for lots of wild foods that we'll be able to relocate some of, as long as we don't take the last of it, right? That's the rule, as it were. Never take the last of anything. Leave it there to regrow and to repopulate. But he swears he knows where there are all kinds of hazelnut bushes. So this spring, we're looking forward to going and getting some of those so that we can add them to the berry patch in the corner there. I guess it'll be a nut and berry patch at that point. And we've got the hawthorns. So they're not really like apples, but they're kind of a tiny apple. And our cherry tree back in the corner there started to produce some fruit last year, but didn't really have enough moisture to carry through. So I'm hoping another year's growth, deeper roots, maybe we'll actually get some fruit off that this year. But he's keeping his eye open for things like, the Nanking cherry bush tree, whatever it is that they've got out here, and anything that we can take cuttings from and hopefully root. And he's just kind of keeping all of those things in mind because, of course, growing up around me, well, that's just kind of the mentality he's got now. And it's so wonderful that the family that he's so involved with also has that same mindset. It's absolutely wonderful. Bill, huzzah, welcome. Uncle Wimpy, you don't like radishes? What's not to like about radishes? I need some justification for that statement. Radishes are one of my favorite root vegetables, period. And they're just, if there is a veggie plate, I go for those radishes first off. It is a flavor you notice, man. I want to get some horseradish growing around here too. I don't know if that would necessarily count as a permaculture thing or not, though. But yeah, so it's all about, kind of growing the property and making it more sustaining. We're not going to be able to put an earth chip here, so ultimately I'm building a temporary homestead because I know sooner or later we're going to move away. But at the same time, the way I think of it anyway, the more things we have growing here when we move elsewhere, like I'll be able to take cuttings, root those. I'll be able to dig some of them up, root those. And if we've got hazelnut bushes, for example, I can start little hazelnut bushes a couple of years before we're actually finished building the earthship and move them on out there. It's a great opportunity. Uncle Wimpy, Mom forced them growing up. Well, ain't that a bitch? Not your mom, the situation. I find that anything we force on our kids, they're just not going to be into, regardless of how good it is or how good it is for them. If we make them do it, they're just not going to be interested. And I don't understand how, those historical families work where my father was a blacksmith and his father was a blacksmith and my son's going to be a blacksmith, whether he wants to or not. How the hell does that work? It doesn't work. It doesn't work, especially in this day and age. There are too many opportunities. Able to take the lessons learned as well. Quite true, Bill. Quite true. I have learned so many lessons from this property. It is staggering. Speaking of staggering, though, I'm noticing that we are at almost an hour that I started this, and I think I've only come up with like 6 or 7 reasons why I YouTube. But I think the overall message of why I YouTube has come across. It is because of the community. It is because of the randomness. It is because I can look up what I want to look up, and I'm not being subjected to social programming through the television networks. I'm not being told what to be mad at or who to hate or what teams are important or anything like that. I'm just watching about radishes or rabbits or Highland cattle, which I still think are the cutest cows on the planet. And, you know, it's the opportunity to just be me and learn what I want to learn. So I'm going to say a huge thank you to Humphrey Family Homestead for inviting me to do this video, because I probably wouldn't have otherwise. I don't generally jump on a lot of the little bandwagons type videos unless I am specifically invited to do so. And even then, you kind of have to tell me if I have been tagged in something, because I don't get the time to watch anywhere near as many of the videos as I used to. And it kind of eats me up, because there are so many of you who make awesome videos, and I want to watch them all. I want to support you. I want to support your channel. I want to support your projects. But I'd almost have to be watching like 3 different screens at once to be able to keep up with everybody, because of the sporting communities and the homesteading communities and the gardening communities and the pepper lovers post a lot. The PLC guys, there are a lot of pepperheads out there. And, you know, that's just the stuff I'm choosing to educate myself on because I want to get better at it. That doesn't even include straight up entertainment. Like, I like, was it Time Travelers? I've been watching a lot of that when I get opportunities. It's an old BBC show hosted by Baldrick. What's his name? Tony Robinson? He played Baldrick in Blackadder. But it's basically a bunch of archaeologists running around and digging up Britain and going, oh, this is what happened here. And oh, look, this pre-Roman thing. And the Celts did this. And it's so nice to be able to dive down those educational rabbit holes. Yeah. So I like YouTube because it's a better opportunity than TV will ever be. Yeah. Humphrey Family, I'm glad you enjoyed the live stream. Dan boys, luckily we haven't lived in a city or town for many years. Grow our own food, whatever we want, and as many as we want. Love it out in the boonies. Life in the boonies. Everybody should try it at least once. I mean, there are a lot of people, as we've discussed, who are watching on YouTube because of, we'll say, for wish fulfillment. I'm watching this because this is what I want for my life. And that's great. That is really, really great. And I believe that more people should be open to that. You should go out, watch the things that you're interested in. And if you enjoyed it or you got something from it, yeah, share the channel on whatever social media you generally use, or just tell your friends about it so they'll go watch it, or take the information that you got out of it and do something with it. And if you learn something in your doing, make another video, make another video that shares what you learned and how you've adapted what you got from YouTube. And whenever possible, give credit to the people that gave you your ideas. In my case, I can't remember half the time because there are so bloody many channels that I watch. But I try really hard, like with that little biogas plant thing that I did. I remember that was the Pakistani Science Club. So I gave credit and I put a link in there. And it's a great opportunity for little people, you know, just us regular plebes, regular peasants, you know, the unimportant, the 99%. It's an opportunity for us to share with each other. And in this day and age, there are a lot of people who don't have much of anything. So as long as we've got each other, we're good. No midgets, little people. No, I'm not allowed to call little people midgets anymore because I made that mistake once. She was like 4'11" and she almost killed me. She came at me with a knife. She was on the hood of my Ranger. She was hanging onto it was crazy. It's crazy. When little people attack, it's not good, man. It's not good. Probably shouldn't have mentioned that, but I don't think she watches my stuff anyways. Yeah, okay, so an hour and 4 minutes. I am babbling on. My brain has long since been shut down. But once again, I want to thank you guys, all of you who have been in and out of the stream, all of you who have contributed to the chat here. Just thank you so much for being part of my adventure and being part of the life of JT Bear and Bear Family Farms, and just being so supportive with your comments and your helpful nature and everything. And to all of you out there that are struggling to get your channels monetized in the first place after what YouTube did, just bite into it, grin and bear it. You can do it. It's a pain in the ass, but you can do it. And Bill, you know I've got a towel in the garden. You know that. Towel, freaky, towel. It's always important to know where your towel is. Yeah. And when possible, replace your hot chocolate with a Pangalactic Gargle Blaster. But Old Jank's Spirit is so hard to come by in the prairies. So yeah, those of you who are plugging away your channels, just keep at it. Just keep at it. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. And the community grows, and it's this amazing thing that happens once you get to that 1,000 viewers, subscribe to your channel. The growth just starts happening faster and faster. And they talk about the snowball effect, and it really feels so slow in the beginning. But once it starts to pick up, it's really, really worth it. And I hope that everybody else out there who's doing this gets to experience the joy that I've gotten out of it. And I thank Shocks almost every day for making me put up that first video, for making me start posting on YouTube, because it has changed my life in a positive way. And I have gained a lot of relationships with really wonderful people. And yeah, you guys are awesome. So see, Jackie is a perfect example at Silver Moon Homestead there. Absolutely wonderful person. Laz, by the way, still loves his winter jacket and looks at it on those colder days. He looks up with a leash, and then he looks over at his jacket. It's like, yes, buddy, don't worry, you're gonna get your jacket. And yeah, that is an awesome piece of crochet work. So I am going to click end stream at this point, but I love you all, and I hope you all survive the winter, and spring has got to be coming soon. I have no idea when the next live thing will be, but I'm hoping to build the rabbit cages sometime in the next couple of weeks. So there is that. Yes. Those of you who have not yet subscribed to Humphrey Family Homestead, you should go over there, click sub, click like, thank them for this particular video, because it was his suggestion that got me out here doing it. So on that note, much love, everybody, and I need a nap.